Imagine a tech titan, once the undisputed king of silicon, now teetering on the edge of collapse. Welcome to Boardroom Secrets, where we unravel the gripping saga of Intel, a company that powered the digital age but stumbled into a crisis that shook its very foundation. This isn't just a story of chips and circuits. It's a high-stakes drama of ambition, missteps, and a desperate bid to reclaim glory. From a bold new CEO's electrifying vision to a strategy that promised salvation but delivered chaos, we'll dive into how Intel, a giant that once defined innovation, found itself outpaced, outmaneuvered, and fighting for survival in a cutthroat tech race. Buckle up. This is a tale of hubris, hope, and the brutal realities of a trillion-dollar industry. Let's set the stage. March 23, 2021. A sleek studio buzzes with anticipation. Cameras roll, lights blaze, and Intel's newly minted CEO steps into the spotlight. The air crackles with tension. This isn't just another corporate speech. It's a pivotal moment, a chance to unveil a daring plan to rescue Intel from a downward spiral. Employee morale is in tatters, investors are restless, and the company's stock has languished for over 2 decades, barely inching forward while competitors soar. Intel, the pioneer that gave us the world's first commercial microprocessor, the legendary Intel 4004 in 1971, needs a savior. The board believes they've found one. As the CEO takes the stage, every eye in the room locks onto him, hearts pounding with hope. He unveils IDM 2.0, a strategy billed as a revolutionary blueprint to not just save Intel, but catapult it back to dominance. It's a bold promise. Even the mightiest giants, he declares, can rise stronger from their darkest days. For a moment, it feels like Intel's glory days are within reach again. But let's rewind to understand how Intel, a titan that shaped the modern world, reached this breaking point. In the 1970s and 80s, Intel was untouchable. Its chips powered the PC revolution. From clunky desktops to the laptops we can't live without, their partnership with Microsoft, the iconic Wintel alliance, turned personal computers into a global phenomenon, raking in billions and cementing Intel's dominance. But success bred complacency. By the 2000s, cracks began to show. Intel missed seismic shifts in tech. When Steve Jobs approached them to build chips for the iPhone, Intel scoffed, dismissing mobile chips as low margin compared to their PC cash cow. It was a catastrophic miscalculation. The smartphone boom exploded, and Intel was left on the sidelines as rivals like Qualcomm and TSMC seized the moment. Then came another blunder, underestimating GPUs, graphics processing units. Intel saw them as niche, fit only for gamers, while pouring resources into traditional CPUs. They couldn't have been more wrong. The rise of AI, cryptocurrency mining, and data centers turned GPUs into the beating heart of modern computing. Nvidia, once a scrappy underdog, skyrocketed to a $3 trillion valuation by 2025, dwarfing Intel. Meanwhile, AMD, Intel's longtime rival, roared back with its Ryzen chips, stealing market share with superior performance. Intel's once unassailable lead was crumbling, and its culture of overconfidence, rooted in decades of easy wins, left it blind to the changing tides. Enter the new CEO in 2021, a tech veteran who'd spent 30 years at Intel, rising from a humble engineer to a mastermind behind the iconic 486 chip, a cornerstone of modern computing. He wasn't just a suit, he was a technologist, a visionary who'd also led VMware, a virtualization powerhouse. Employees cheered his return, believing he could steer Intel back to greatness. Investors agreed, pushing the stock to a 20-year high of $64 per share. His plan? IDM 2.0, a radical reinvention of Intel as not just a chip designer but a global foundry, manufacturing chips for others, just like TSMC, the Taiwanese giant that commands over 50% of the world's chip production. With TSMC's market cap soaring past $1 trillion, Intel saw a golden opportunity to diversify its revenue, reduce its reliance on the volatile PC market, and challenge TSMC's dominance. Backed by the US government's CHIPS Act, promising billions in subsidies to bolster domestic chip production, the plan seemed unstoppable. The CEO's confidence was infectious. Intel's brightest days, he vowed, were still ahead. But beneath the hype, trouble was brewing. IDM 2.0 was a gamble of staggering scale, requiring over $20 billion upfront and potentially $100 billion over time to build and upgrade foundries in Arizona, New Mexico, Oregon, Ireland, and Israel. Intel poured $3.5 billion into New Mexico, $7 billion into Ireland, $10 billion into Israel, numbers that made jaws drop. The logic was sound. Become a foundry for tech giants like Nvidia and Apple, tap into a lucrative new revenue stream, and reclaim technological leadership. But there was a fatal flaw. Intel's manufacturing prowess, once the envy of the world, had fallen behind. In the 2010s, Intel boasted a breakthrough, a 10-nanometer chip process, promised for mass production by 2016. It was a bold claim, meant to keep Intel ahead in the race to shrink transistors, the tiny switches that power chips. Smaller transistors mean faster, more efficient chips, critical for everything from laptops to AI. But 2016 came and went. Then 2017, 2018, silence. Delays piled up, and the 10-nanometer chips didn't arrive until 2019, 3 years late. Even then, they were plagued by technical glitches, forcing Intel to push back its next-generation 7-nanometer chips to 2023 or beyond. Meanwhile, TSMC and Samsung surged ahead, mastering 7nm, 5nm, and even 3nm processes using cutting-edge extreme ultraviolet lithography, EUV. Intel, stubbornly clinging to outdated methods, refused to adopt EUV early, betting it could innovate its way out. It was a costly mistake. By 2021, as IDM 2.0 launched, Intel was still grappling with these failures, playing catch-up in a race it once led. The fallout was brutal. Intel's foundries struggled to attract big clients. Tech giants like Apple and Nvidia, with sky-high standards, saw Intel's lagging tech and balked. Why trust a company struggling to produce its own chips, let alone theirs? TSMC, with its proven track record and customer-first ethos, was the safer bet. Intel's dual role as both chip designer and manufacturer didn't help. Rivals like Nvidia saw a conflict of interest. Why outsource to a competitor that might prioritize its own chips? Apple, once a close partner, dealt a crushing blow in 2020, ditching Intel for its own M-series chips, designed in-house and built by TSMC. A former Intel engineer revealed the breaking point. Intel's Skylake chips, riddled with bugs, turned Apple into a relentless bug reporter. When your customer finds more flaws than you do, the engineer said, you know you're in trouble. Apple's exit wasn't just a business decision, it was a public rebuke. By 2024, the cracks in IDM 2.0 were gaping. The chip market, red hot in 2020, cooled into a recession with demand for Intel's foundry services far below expectations. Despite landing a deal with Amazon's AWS, the wins were too few. Intel's stock plummeted to just over $20, erasing years of gains. The company bled cash, posting losses instead of profits. Morale sank as 15,000 employees, 15% of the workforce, faced layoffs in a desperate bid to cut $10 billion in costs. In a last-ditch effort, Intel spun off its foundry business into a separate entity, hoping to erase doubts about bias and win over skeptical clients. But it was too little, too late. In December 2024, the final blow landed. The CEO, once hailed as Intel's savior, was out, likely forced out by a furious board. No successor was named, leaving Intel adrift in a storm of its own making. Adding insult to injury, Intel launched a legal battle to claw back $207 million in compensation, accusing him of hiding the foundry's failures and mismanaging the company. Critics had warned from the start, throwing billions at new factories couldn't fix Intel's deeper issues: outdated technology, a culture of arrogance, and a failure to adapt. As one analyst put it, Intel tried to spend its way out of a systemic problem, and the market called their bluff. Intel's story is a cautionary tale, echoing the fall of giants like Kodak and Nokia, who clung to past successes while the world moved on. Can Intel recover? The path is steep. TSMC's lead is formidable, Nvidia's GPU dominance is unchallenged, and AMD keeps gaining ground. Yet Intel's legacy, its role in shaping the digital age, suggests it's not out of the fight. Boardroom Secrets leaves you with a question: can a titan rise again, or is Intel's reign over? Stay tuned for more stories that uncover the battles shaping our tech-driven world.